The first signs that something had gone terribly wrong appeared long before the explosion stopped. High above the Persian Gulf, American surveillance drones orbiting near the Strait of Hormuz detected frantic, encrypted transmissions erupting across Iranian military channels. Radar operators inside multiple coastal defense sites were suddenly abandoning standard communication protocols. Emergency convoys began racing inland.
But the strongest defenses often share one flaw.
Missile crews were being
focus on the
repositioned. Senior IRGC commanders were demanding immediate battlefield updates from a facility that had already gone silent. Deep inside the mountains north of Bandar Abbas, Iran's most heavily protected missile coordination complex had vanished from the network. The silence terrified them. Buried beneath layers of reinforced concrete and carved directly into the rocky terrain, the underground facility controlled one of Iran's most dangerous strategic systems. Long-range anti-ship missiles, drone strike coordination cells, radar surveillance arrays, and encrypted naval command relays all passed through the hidden compound. From that mountain stronghold, Iranian commanders could monitor tanker traffic moving through the Strait of Hormuz and direct rapid response attacks against commercial shipping or foreign naval assets entering the region. For years, the facility had been considered untouchable, protected by overlapping air defenses, underground blast doors, and elite IRGC security battalions. The command center represented one of the most secure military installations in the country. Iranian leadership believed geography alone made a direct assault nearly impossible. Jagged mountain ridges surrounded the area for kilometers. Hidden radar stations monitored the valleys. Mobile missile launchers rotated constantly through concealed tunnel systems beneath the rock. They believed no foreign force could reach it fast enough to survive. They were wrong. Months earlier, American intelligence agencies had started noticing unusual activity surrounding the complex. Satellite imagery revealed fresh excavation near tunnel entrances. Thermal scans detected increasing underground power consumption during nighttime hours. Drone reconnaissance captured heavily armed convoys arriving under darkness before disappearing into camouflaged mountain access points. Then came the intercepted communications. Encrypted transmissions between IRGC aerospace units and coastal missile batteries indicated the facility was coordinating preparations for a major escalation near the Strait of Hormuz. Analysts identified references to anti-ship targeting packages, swarm drone launch schedules, and maritime disruption operations capable of threatening one of the world's most important shipping corridors. The implications were enormous. Nearly 20% of global oil traffic moved through the narrow waterway below those mountains. Any successful disruption could trigger economic shockwaves across global energy markets within hours. Intelligence officials warned that the underground complex had become more than a regional threat. It was now a strategic command node with global consequences. The decision was made quietly. The target would be neutralized before those plans could become operational. The mission required speed, precision, and overwhelming force delivered deep inside hostile territory. Conventional airstrikes alone carried too much risk. The underground structures were heavily reinforced. Critical intelligence hidden inside the compound could be lost beneath collapsed tunnels and firestorms. American planners needed boots on the ground. Only one force was considered capable of executing the operation: the 75th Ranger Regiment. Supported by Green Beret reconnaissance teams and elite Night Stalkers, the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. The Rangers were tasked with infiltrating hostile terrain, seizing the compound, capturing intelligence materials, and destroying the facility before Iranian reinforcements could respond.
From a distance, it looked like nothing more than part of the mountain
Inside
itself.
secure briefing rooms hundreds of miles away, mission planners studied satellite maps illuminated by dim projector light. Detailed scale models of the compound covered large tables. Tunnel schematics, radar locations, bunker entrances, and guard rotations were
memorized. For 3 months, intelligence
repeatedly.
agencies had
Ranger
tracked
assault
unusual
teams
activity in the
room
region.
clearing operations inside full-scale mock-ups built to replicate the
Narrow
underground
mountain
corridors.
roads under the cover
Every
of darkness.
second mattered.
Analysts
Night after
confirmed
night,
what many feared.
Operators practiced breaching steel blast doors using thermite charges,
Range ballistic
explosive
missile
cutting
launchers
tools.
had been positioned
Medics drilled
inside a
casualty
fortified
extractions
complex
from narrow
designed
tunnels filled with simulated smoke. Apache pilots studied low-altitude approach routes through mountain valleys designed to avoid Iranian radar coverage. Night Stalker crews rehearsed emergency extraction procedures under simulated missile threats. The operation was
the
becoming
region.
real.
The facility
As
had only
final
one
intelligence updates arrived, surveillance drones detected additional missile launchers being moved into hardened underground storage. Analysts concluded the facility was entering an advanced operational phase. Waiting any longer increased the danger dramatically. The order was approved.
heavily guarded
Just
and
after
constantly
sunset,
monitored.
the first helicopters lifted into the darkness. Modified MH-47 Chinooks and MH-60 Black Hawks
The
skimmed
aircraft
across the
positions
terrain at
covered the
dangerously
skies.
low altitude.
Defensive bunkers
Their rotor
overlooked every
noise swallowed
conventional
by the
approach.
surrounding mountains. Inside the aircraft, Rangers sat in complete silence beneath dim red lighting. Weapons rested across armor plate carriers. Night vision goggles hung ready against helmets. Radios remained quiet except for occasional navigation updates from cockpit crews. The tension inside the aircraft was suffocating. Outside, the mountains stretched endlessly beneath the black sky. Pilots maneuvered through narrow valleys
Behind
using
the
terrain
facility
following
stood near
radar
vertical cliffs.
and years of combat
Jagged rock
experience.
faces rising
One
sharply.
mistake at that altitude could send an entire aircraft into the rock face at full speed. Still, the helicopters pressed forward. Far ahead, Green Beret reconnaissance teams
The
already
defenders
hidden near the objective confirmed the approach corridors remained clear. Small infrared markers invisible to the naked eye identified landing zones among the rocky terrain. The clock was ticking. As the helicopters neared the target area,
Attempt that route.
Iranian radar operators briefly detected unusual electronic interference moving through the mountains. Air defense crews attempted to verify the
20
signals.
kilometers.
By the time they realized something was wrong, it was already too late. The assault had begun. Apache helicopters erupted over the ridgelines first. Hellfire missiles slammed into radar
And
stations
then
overlooking
scale
the
those
valley,
cliffs would be considered
turning defensive
impossible.
positions
That
into
was exactly
fireballs
why it
within
became
seconds. Explosions shattered the darkness across the mountainside. Anti-aircraft crews scrambled toward weapon systems already engulfed in smoke and debris. Moments later, F-35 fighter jets streaked over.
120 Rangers
releasing
began their
precision-guided
infiltration
munitions
under
onto
darkness.
missile batteries
For 48
surrounding
hours,
the
they moved.
compound. The entire mountain shook. Under the chaos of the air assault, Ranger helicopters descended rapidly toward the insertion zones. Fast ropes dropped into the darkness. Operators hit the rocky ground
through
running,
some of the harshest
immediately
terrain
establishing
on
perimeter
Earth.
security,
The air
while
was thin,
heavier
every
assault
breath
teams
shallow.
advanced toward the underground entrances. Then the gunfire started. Iranian security forces emerging from defensive bunkers opened fire across
The ground was
valley with
uneven and
machine guns
unforgiving.
and
During daylight
rocket-propelled
hours,
grenades.
they can
Tracer rounds ripped through the darkness. Rangers responded instantly with disciplined suppressive fire, cutting through defensive positions with terrifying precision. The compound erupted.
It's from first
Breaching
contact
teams
before
moved toward the main
reinforcements
bunker
from nearby
entrances,
bases could
carrying
arrive.
thermite cutters
Everything to
and shape charges. Explosions thundered against reinforced blast doors. Molten sparks sprayed to the tunnel entrances as steel began melting away under extreme heat.
at 04
Behind
hour
the
on the morning of
breachers,
the assault.
assault teams stacked tightly against the tunnel walls waiting for entry. Then the doors collapsed inward. Rangers surged into the underground complex with overwhelming speed. Flashbang grenades detonated inside narrow corridors,
Reached a
blinding
ridge 3
defenders
kilometers.
as operators pushed room to room to the command network. Muzzle flashes illuminated concrete walls coated in dust and smoke. Iranian personnel attempted desperate
Smoke
resistance
drifted
from
lazily
defensive
from
choke
cooking
points
areas.
deeper inside
No one
the
looked
tunnels.
toward the cliffs.
But the assault
At
moved too
1425.
quickly. They could not stabilize the defense. Inside one underground command chamber, large digital displays still tracked tanker traffic moving through the Strait of Hormuz in real time. Missile
Quiet
launch
shattered
grids
into
covered
gunfire that
entire
echoed
sections
across
of the
stone walls.
Drone strike
IRGC
schedules
defenders
remained
react-
visible across active command terminals. Intelligence officers immediately began securing hard drives, encrypted communication devices, targeting documents and classified operation materials. Then came the discovery that changed
These were
the
trained,
mission
experienced
entirely.
soldiers familiar.
Deep beneath the main command center, Rangers uncovered an expanded underground missile coordination section previously unknown to intelligence analysts. Hidden behind secondary blast doors, the chamber contained advanced targeting systems
They rushed to
connected
bunker.
directly to mobile anti-ship missile batteries operating throughout the region. The facility was larger than expected and far more dangerous. Above ground, the battle intensified rapidly. Iranian quick reaction forces were
Missions
now
returning
converging on the
finally.
mountain complex
Another
from
push.
multiple directions. Armed convoys pushed aggressively through the valleys, while mortar fire began impacting near the landing zones. Apache crews immediately shifted fire toward advancing reinforcements, unleashing rockets and
Bunker
cannon
buried
fire
deep
against
into
enemy
the
vehicles
mountainside.
climbing the mountain roads. The valley became a furnace of explosions. Inside the tunnels, demolition teams worked at terrifying speed. Thermite charges were attached to missile guidance systems, server
Neutralized
arrays,
elevated weapon position.
encrypted communication hubs, and underground power systems. Operators moved methodically despite the growing chaos echoing to the compound. Every charge had to count. Secondary
Compound.
teams planted
The final
demolition
platoon
packs along structural support points deeper inside the tunnel network.
Storage area.
Engineers identified
Heart of the
key
mission.
collapse zones designed to bury the underground facility permanently beneath thousands of tons of rock. Then another problem emerged. Iranian defenders still trapped inside lower sections of the bunker launched a
Made
sudden
every movement
counterattack
exhausting.
through a maintenance corridor previously missed during reconnaissance. Automatic gunfire exploded through smoke-filled passageways. As Rangers pivoted toward the threat,
Offered
the
little cover,
firefight became brutally
but the Rangers
close.
advanced
Rounds tore through concrete walls only feet away. Flashbangs detonated inside narrow corridors with deafening force. Operators fought through the darkness room by room, while smoke alarms screamed overhead. One Iranian
Coordinating
officer
suppressive
attempted
fire
to
and
destroy
flanking
classified
maneuvers with-
materials inside a communications chamber before being stopped moments before ignition. Again, they were too late. As the final intelligence materials were secured, the extraction order came through the radios.
20 minutes.
Enemy reinforcements were approaching faster than expected. Outside the facility, the night sky burned orange from continuous explosions spreading across the mountainside. Apache helicopters
Iranian
circled
commanders
aggressively
transmitted urgent
overhead,
calls for
while
reinforcement.
F-35 aircraft conducted additional suppression strikes against incoming forces moving toward the valley. The Rangers began pulling back. Assault teams withdrew through
Destruction
collapsing
was
tunnel
at
entrances,
exactly 45
carrying
minutes.
captured intelligence materials and several high-value detainees. Behind them, demolition timers continued counting down toward detonation. The mountain itself seemed ready to explode. At the extraction zone,
Then came through the
Night
radio.
Stalker helicopters descended once more through smoke and dust while Rangers established defensive security
The
around
withdrawal
the landing
began
sites.
immediately.
Enemy mortar rounds impacted dangerously close to the perimeter. Shrapnel blasted across the rocky terrain as operators loaded equipment and prisoners aboard the aircraft. Then the demolition sequence triggered. The explosions rolled to the
coordinated
mountain like
bounds.
an earthquake. Massive secondary detonations erupted beneath the surface as missile stockpiles ignited deep underground.
The explosions were
Entire
controlled
tunnel
and
systems collapsed inward. Fire burst from ventilation shafts high along the ridgelines. Shockwaves echoed across
Into
the
the
valley,
mountain air.
while enormous
The
clouds
fortress
of
that
smoke
had been considered
climbed into the
untouchable
night
was no
sky
longer
above the
operational.
Strait of Hormuz. Iran's most protected military complex was disintegrating in real time. The helicopters lifted away moments later. Below them, the mountain continued burning. From the air, Rangers
over.
watched flames consume bunker entrances that had taken years to construct. Secondary blasts continued rippling beneath the surface as buried ammunition stores detonated one after another. The underground command network
8 hours, the
coordinating
Rangers
missile
moved back
operations
through hostile
near the
territory.
strait was gone, destroyed in less than an hour. By sunrise, panic had spread through Iranian military leadership. Emergency response teams sealed off entire regions surrounding the destroyed facility, while IRGC commanders demanded immediate
region.
battlefield assessments.
Helicopters scanned
Satellite
valleys.
imagery captured
Patrols
enormous
combed ridge
crater
lines.
zones surrounding the collapsed mountain entrances. Smoke continued rising for hours. The damage was catastrophic. Critical missile coordination systems had been eliminated. Intelligence materials seized during the raid exposed
They're
hidden
wounded.
drone launch
They
networks,
maintained silence and
mobile missile
discipline.
deployment routes,
Every ridge
and
cross brought
encrypted
them closer
communication
to a
structures used throughout the region. Several senior officers connected to maritime targeting operations were now missing. Global reaction came quickly. Energy markets stabilized temporarily as fears of an immediate shipping crisis decreased. Western
3 days
intelligence
later,
agencies
all
quietly
surviving
described the
Rangers-
operation as one of the most significant special operations raids conducted in the region in years.
Missile launchers
Behind
destroyed.
closed doors,
Military planners
military
would later
analysts
study the
acknowledged the
operation
strike
closely.
had fundamentally
Not
altered the balance surrounding the Strait of Hormuz. But the consequences were only beginning. Iranian forces rapidly dispersed surviving missile assets deeper
But because of
into
what
the
it
interior,
proved,
while
mountains
launching
can-
widespread security crackdowns across multiple provinces. Additional air defense systems appeared near strategic
Facilities can be
within
engineered.
days. Military convoys moved constantly through the region under heavy escort. Everyone understood what had happened. A line had been crossed. For the Rangers involved, the operation became another brutal example of modern special warfare, conducted under impossible conditions. Precision, speed, violence, discipline. Every phase of the mission depended on absolute coordination between air crews, reconnaissance teams, assault operators, and intelligence specialists operating inside one of the most hostile environments on Earth. And still, the larger Shadow War continued. The mountains overlooking the Strait of Hormuz eventually fell quiet again. Smoke faded from the shattered ridgelines. Burned tunnel entrances disappeared beneath collapsed stone and ash. But deep across the region, military commanders on every side understood the message left behind by the raid. No facility was truly unreachable anymore. If tensions continue rising, operations like this may become more common. Subscribe for more military operations and strategic conflict breakdowns. Far below those silent mountains, tankers continued moving carefully through the dark waters of the strait, while both sides prepared for whatever came next. The Shadow War was far from over.